Welcome to the channel. So if you're in the market for an F150, this is a good video for you. This is my second F150 I ever owned. The first one was a XLT. This one is a Lariat. And I'm making this video because if you're in the market for one of these trucks, there's so much information. There's so many different possibilities. There's so many different configurations that you can get. It's almost impossible to know everything, and I will admit I definitely don't know everything, but most salesmen, they don't know everything either. It's just an overwhelming amount of information, amount of different possibilities, configurations. It's quite frankly impossible to know everything about these trucks, but I will do my best to tell you as much as I can. And this is a good video to watch if you're in the market for one of these trucks, if you're leasing one of these trucks and you're always going into a new F-150 every couple years, or if you're gonna be getting one for the first time ever. So one thing to consider is how much you're gonna be towing, how much you're gonna be idling, things like that. Towing's a big one because the configuration you get is going to affect how much you tow or how well it tows. And believe it or not, the biggest factor is actually not necessarily the engine, but the wheelbase. The longer the wheelbase, the better. And in this particular case, we have a crew cab with the 6.5 foot bed, the bigger bed. And a feature like that is impossible to get after the fact. So you have to know you want it before you buy it. And this is a rare feature. So if you're towing a lot, you want to go ahead and get a 6.5 foot bed with either the 3.5 liter EcoBoost or the 5.0 V8. Either engine's pretty good. They're relatively close. The 3.5 EcoBoost is going to have the highest ratings as far as towing. The 5.0 is going to come close, but it will have potentially a higher payload. Ultimately, if you're really interested in maximizing your towing abilities, the highest rated configuration would probably be the 5.0 with the max payload package. Although it doesn't have the highest towing, it would have the highest payload, which would ultimately give you the most amount of capability. The next runner-up for that would be the 3.5 liter EcoBoost payload package. That will give you the payload and the towing. Whereas if you get the towing packages, you don't necessarily get the payload as well to support the towing. It'll barely give you enough payload to support the full available towing. For example, this max towing F-150 gives you a 1,650 pound payload, but a 13,000 pound trailer. So if you're going to put 10% of your trailer, you're going to put 1,300 pounds on your hitch, and you're only going to be able to carry 300 pounds in the cab. And that's accessories, that's everything aftermarket, that's anything that's not factory and a full tank of gas. So keep in mind, when you're towing with an F-150 or getting an F-150 for towing, you can only tow 5,000 pounds without weight distribution. So once you get weight distribution involved, that will lower the amount of payload on the truck. Why is that? Because the weight distribution is set up to transfer the weight of the tongue weight back to the trailer and back to the front axle. So the way that it's set up is you're measuring how much squat you have in the rear and then how much lift you have in the front, and the weight distribution uses springs to transfer the weight back to the front to bring the front back to its original height and bring the rear of the truck to about 1 inch of squat or so, give or take. And essentially it takes some of the weight and diverts some of it back to the trailer. I forget exactly what percentage, but you'd have to talk to the manufacturers of weight distribution hitches to figure out how much of it. It's not a ton of weight. It's not like you can now tow and have unlimited payload because you have weight distribution, but you can count on a few hundred pounds going back to the trailer. What does that do? What does that mean? It probably means that you don't have to say that the full tongue weight is on the truck. If you're towing, say, for example, 13,000 pounds, then a couple hundred pounds will then be available if you're using weight distribution. But F-150s in general require weight distribution over 5,000 pounds. So if you're regularly towing over 5,000 pounds, it might be worth it to look at a Super Duty or a 2,500 if you're looking at other brands. But 5,000 pounds is a lot of weight, so most people aren't towing that regularly unless they're hauling stone or unless they're hauling heavy stuff. You know, boats. You can get a pretty decent sized boat for 5,000 pounds. You can get over with boats as well. But travel trailers, they can get up to up there 9,000. And you're typically going to want to use weight distribution with those kind of trailers anyway, because they're so big and they can cause so much sway with the wind and all that. But look at a max towing package or a max payload package. This here is a max towing package. The max towing package is cool because it has the option for the 20-inch wheels. And in 2018, when this truck was ordered, it had the option to still have the 20-inch wheels and to have the incredibly high 13,000 pound towing rating, but the payload's not that good. In the max payload package, you can get close to 3,000 pounds, and actually if in the case of the 5.0, about 3,000 pounds plus pounds of payload with the 5.0. You're not going to get the 20-inch wheels, but you're going to get the 36-gallon fuel tank. You're going to get the best heavy-duty springs that in the rear, leaf springs in the rear that Ford offers, and you're going to get probably the 6.5-foot bed and technically the best towing configuration, because when you hook up, even though you'll have a little bit less actual max trailer weight, nobody's really going up to 13,000 pounds with their 150s anyway, and you have your payload available for those heavy loads with the max payload package. So if you're in the market for one of these, you definitely want to look at the payload package or the max towing package, because that big 36-gallon fuel tank, that adds so much range. Even if you're not towing that much, having a 36-gallon fuel tank is so nice. You're filling up way less, and it's just a big factor when making a decision. Also, the crew cab is 100% worth it because it holds its value way better than the extended cabs. But you can save a little bit of money by going with an extended cab if that's all you need. One of the key features that we have and that we love on our truck is the towing mirrors, and that's something you add from the factory. They extend out, they fold in the form of a lariat. They don't all do that, but it depends on the trim level. If you have a higher trim level, you can, I have to turn on the vehicle. With the power folding mirrors, it depends on the trim level, but you can extend automatically and fold automatically. But this isn't the case of a lariat, and not everyone can do this. But having the towing mirrors is a big plus because of the dual mirror. You can see a lot more, and it really does, most importantly, make the truck look really aggressive. The long wheelbase with the max towing mirror, it makes the truck look really aggressive. And it's something that's relatively hard to add after the fact, aftermarket. Adding towing mirrors can get expensive, and it's just nice to have everything factory OEM. But yeah, towing mirrors is a big thing to add. Now also keep in mind, if you're in the market for one of these trucks, you can custom order this truck however you want, depending on your dealer. Not every salesman or dealer is necessarily jumping to do that for you. A lot of times it's going to be a salesman that's built up a rapport with you already, who knows you. Maybe you've made a purchase from them before, but you can go on the Ford website, you can configure every little detail that you want, and you can order your truck exactly the way you want. The problem with doing that is it takes anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks to get built from the factory. And when a salesman or a dealership has the opportunity to do that for you, it creates a lot of risk for them, because in the time period of that 8 weeks, something can happen. You might change your mind. You're still shopping, you're still looking, whatever the case, and you might change your mind on them, and they are going to have to turn around and sell the truck that you ordered. And it might be an oddball truck that they might not be able to sell really quickly. And that is why usually when you do that, they require a deposit. For me, it's always been about like $500. And if I reneged on a deal, then I would lose my deposit. But for a good store, good Ford shop will generally let you keep your deposit if you change your mind. But if you continue to buy a vehicle from them, they will a lot of times let you keep your deposit and apply it to your new truck, as long as you don't switch stores on them and got them building a truck for you and you never pick it up. So in my case, when I custom ordered this truck, I had a couple of other trucks on their lot, and before I signed on it, I looked at a couple other trucks just to make sure that I didn't just go with one of the trucks on the lot. But it is a risky thing, because you can change your mind in the 8 weeks that it takes just to build the truck. So you have to realize that if you're going to custom order a truck, you got to be really patient and understand that once you put in that order, you have to follow through with it. Because I continue to custom order trucks. We mow lawns and whatever for our lawn business. I did another custom order, and the last thing I want to do is destroy the rapport that I built with the dealer by constantly canceling custom orders. So whenever I do a custom order, I always follow through. But you can custom order these trucks, even if it's a lease. You can still custom order a lease. So if you want to do a custom build and get every feature the way you want, there's nothing wrong with that, even if you're leasing it. You just have to be patient. You have to have the time. You can go from lease to lease, from custom order to custom order. My first F-150 that I got, I leased it. I got it right off the lot. And sometimes when you grab a truck right off the lot, it is possible to get a better deal. That truck was an outgoing 2015 model truck, and I got a really good deal on it because of that. And this one was a 2018, and it was, a brand new truck, whereas the other one was an outgoing model and it was off of the lot. So I got a good deal compared to this truck being brand new, one of the first 18s ever built, and brand new truck. So this was not as good of a deal as far as the rebates and everything, but I had the 18 first compared to having the 15 when the 16s were coming out. So there's a lot to consider, but keep in mind you can custom order these trucks even if you're leasing, and you can pick every feature you want. Some of the key things that we picked special for this truck: towing mirrors were custom ordered. We did the 502A trim lariat package, which has a whole ton of equipment. It's about $7,000, $7,000+. We did a panoramic moonroof. We did a 6.5-foot bed. We did a crew cab, and like I said, trailer tow package. We did no running boards, no automatic running boards, and no tailgate steps. I wanted to save a couple of dollars on the tailgate step, but it's a pretty unique truck. There's probably no other truck just like it on the road because it was custom ordered. But looking inside, some of the features that I don't use would have to be the lane keeping. That long term ended up getting turned off. Lane keeping on the 2018s F-150s, they're just not all that great. It kind of nudges you, but after a while, it's not that good of a system in my opinion. The park assist, on the other hand, does work good, but I have not had a chance to really use it that much because I don't have to do too much parallel parking. But the automatic parking does work good, and I wish you could really pick and choose your technology, but this is part of the technology package that gives you a 360 degree camera, lane keep, park assist. I could do without the lane keep and the park assist and just have the 360 degree camera, but I believe that was part of the package deal with the technology package, where you get all those. And you can't just get the 360 degree camera by itself. You had to get the park assist and lane keep, at least in 2018 when this truck was ordered. So that's something to consider. it's worth it at the end of the day for the 360 degree camera because it helps you park. It helps you get perfectly in your lane, in your lines when you're parking on the street. It helps you ease up to vehicles. But unfortunately, it's not, the 360 degree camera is not a standalone feature like it is on the Super Duty. The Lariat trim gets you a better dashboard and everything, but we went with the 502A trim, which is the highest Lariat trim, and it essentially kind of sort of in so many ways makes your truck like a platinum or a limited. But when you start getting into platinums and limited and King Ranch, keep in mind a lot of that stuff is badging. You do get massaging seats and a few other little small features, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can get on a truck, and I just felt like King Ranch limited and platinum trucks are just a lot of badging. You get better stitching, maybe a little bit nicer interiors, but how nice of interior do you really need? It's my thought process when I ordered this truck. So we didn't go with the platinum or limited or anything. The limited kind of starts at where starts price wise where this truck is. This is like a $62,000 truck. And a lot of people were saying when I ordered it, why didn't you just get a limited? Well, I could have, but by the time I added 4-wheel drive, the limited would have been more money than this truck, which is equipped with the max towing package, with 4-wheel drive, with all these different features that would have made it seem like you could have gotten a limited, but the limited would have been stripped down. This doesn't have massaging seats, but going to the higher trims, you start to kind of run out of features that you can get in the higher trims. The best engine that you can get, it really depends. The 2.7 saves fuel, the 3.5 has the torque, the 5.0 has the reliability if you get a 5.0 that doesn't burn oil. Keep in mind some of the problems with these trucks, as you probably know. 5.0, some 3.5s. Haven't heard too much bad news about the 2.7s, but there are some oil consumption problems. I've had a Ford vehicle with an oil consumption problem. It's not fun. It ended up getting straightened out, but I wasn't using that much oil, and they were trying to say it was normal. Eventually, when they fixed it and they took out spark plugs, the spark plugs were pretty much shot. So burning oil is extremely hard on your spark plugs, your cylinders, your valves, and everything. So it's not a good thing to be consuming any amount of oil, but that's one thing to watch out for. Definitely when you get a Ford, if you buy a Ford, if you're in the market for a Ford, I'm not saying don't buy Ford, because all the manufacturers, regardless of what brand, foreign, domestic, they all have had some oil consumption problems. It has a lot to do with the EPA right now wanting extremely high standards as far as fuel economy. A lot of it has to do with the oil that we're using nowadays getting thinner and thinner and thinner as they're trying to meet these standards. And all the manufacturers are having these issues. I've heard GM having these issues, and I'm sure Dodge. I haven't heard anything from Dodge, but I'm sure Dodge and other companies are still having oil consumption issues as well. But I'm not saying don't buy Ford because of the oil consumption, but I will say this: just because you have a brand new vehicle, that doesn't mean you don't have to check your oil. And nowadays you have to watch your oil even more than before. You have to really keep an eye on it to make sure it's not consuming oil, and if it is, document everything and make sure that it's not an issue. This 2018 3.5 EcoBoost does not burn any oil, and my 2.7 before that didn't burn any oil. My 6.2 doesn't burn any oil, but my first 6.2 that I had from Ford did consume oil, and it did get fixed eventually. It just took me a while to get it fixed. So definitely check your oil, watch your oil with the Fords, probably with any manufacturer for that matter. Sunroof is one of those things that broke. It's an expensive item, and it's even more money to fix after the fact. $1,200 option when I ordered it. Maybe it's gone up since then, but it's broken right now, and it will probably break if you order it. I'm not saying don't order the sunroof, but don't be surprised if it breaks and you have to go ahead and get it fixed under warranty, or pay the money to get it fixed if it breaks out of warranty. It's still a cool item. It's probably still worth it, but you know, at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. You know, it's cool. It does get a little noisy. It makes some creaks and everything, but what do you want? You got a twin panel moonroof. It's very ambitious for them to put that in the vehicle, and hopefully they work out the bugs. But if you're gonna be rolling in style, you gotta understand that this big old honking piece of glass is a potential failure point. And if you're really worried about longevity, then go ahead and get a steel roof, no sunroof. I am gonna have to get this fixed, and it's under warranty, but just the idea of taking your vehicle in is not fun, but it is what it is. I don't know, you know, if I have it, I would buy the truck even though it has the sunroof and just deal with it down the road, maybe get a warranty or something like that. But all in all, the F-150 is a great vehicle. I know I can't cover everything in one video, but this channel, we talk a lot about this truck, and in general we talk about a lot of different trucks. So I figured I'd do my best to produce a quick video on the truck. If you're in the market for one of these, if you're going to buy one of these, something, just a topic of discussion. There's still so many more components in here, and it's just impossible for me to talk about everything. But comment below, let me know what you think, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.